Will this be your last life? Do you want it to be your last life? This is a topic of conversation, obviously, among a lot of people who are interested in Eastern spirituality. And because of my work and because I go to Asia a lot and I live in Asia, I'm in and around a lot of circles, Buddhist, Hindu, Taoist, a lot of these circles, and obviously a topic of conversation is samsara and how to end the cycle of samsara. And it's interesting because in and around such circles, you kind of get a hint that some people actually don't want this to be their last life. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to re-emphasize that you need to make this your last life if you believe in what a lot of the Eastern paths are explaining. If you understand that consciousness has no beginning nor end and it is eternal, then you need to understand that you need to make this your last life if you believe in that. And it is interesting because usually when I'm in and around, say if I'm around a Buddhist group of people, and I have a lot of Buddhist friends, and when we get into a discussion about samsara and this cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth, this constant cycle that we're all on, where who knows how many lifetimes we've lived, not just on Earth, maybe other planets, who knows. But when we discuss this, then a lot of them always talk about doing good deeds now. I'm just building up some karmic stock, I'm doing a lot of good karma now, so I have a fortuitous birth in the future. And it always strikes me as odd because when I learned Eastern spirituality when I was younger, the focus was always moksha, was always nirvana, was always liberation. It was never, let's do a few good deeds so that in my next life I'm Jeff Bezos' son. There was never, not even that thought arose in the mind, because when I was taught, it was you need to focus on moksha, nirvana, that the dharmic paths and Taoism and this and that, they're non-dual liberation paths at their core. That's what they are. And so you need to focus on trying to understand the non-dual nature of the universe, and in understanding that and down-regulating that sense of person you are, you begin to merge and become liberated in that, call it Tao or Brahman or what have you. And that should be your focus. Your focus should be in ending this cycle of samsara, or jumping off the wheel, so to speak. But I do find it odd because a lot of people, and not just even within Buddhism or even Hinduism, I find people who are just interested in spirituality in general often think of that, I'm just going to do a lot of good deeds in this life. I'm going to try to be like Gandhi so that I can come back in some sort of special life or special circumstance that's going to be very fortunate for myself. And then you have to ask then, so all of this good karma you are trying to accumulate is then based just on materialism. You want a very pleasurable materialistic life in the next life. And then when you expose that to them, they fall silent. Because naturally, their motivation is materialism. Because when you talk to them about being fortuitous in the next life, not many of them talk about being a monk or a sadhu. They're talking about, being rich and wealthy and having influence over people and all of the things that a lot of people who are hypnotized by materialism wish for. They want to have influence. They want to have wealth. They want to be able to have power. And if you follow Eastern spirituality, you want to get rid of power because power is an illusion. You want to become humble, compassionate, and forgiving. That's the path of someone who follows the great traditions. And so, in saying that, you need to make a decision right here and right now if you want to make this your last life. Some people say, yeah, but maybe I want to be a bodhisattva and come back life after life after life after life. Do you think the Buddha was talking about becoming a bodhisattva? The Buddha was talking about nirvana. He was talking about complete liberation. This concept of bodhisattva came later. It came later, probably from people who want to just keep living life after life. Who knows? It didn't really originate like that, but we could, make a joke about it in that way. We need to be like the Buddha. We need to be like all of the great sages. And you need to choose that this is my last life. I'm sick of living life after life after life and not sorting out my karma and not sorting out these samskaras that are latent within me. So we have to make that choice. We have to make that choice. And so then it becomes a choice of, do you want to be a bodhisattva or a jivan mukta? And I have a video about a bodhisattva versus a jivan mukta, which I'll put in the description. But you have to make a choice. A jivan mukta being a jiva, a person that has become liberated in this life, not in the next life or next year, right now in this life. So that's what a jivan mukta is. The jiva has dissolved into the Atman, the undifferentiated consciousness, and you've experienced mukti, being liberation, mukti, moksha, nirvana, being that liberated state. So that's the choice that we need to make. Then and only then will we truly understand what the Eastern traditions are speaking about. But we have to get out of this mentality of trying to have a fortuitous life in the future. You have to really eliminate this perspective. And a lot of people don't want to, because they are so bound to the physical world and duality and materialism, that surely just one life can I have? One life where I'm rich, I have influence, and so forth and so on. And even if you ask someone, like Jeff Bezos, it's probably not all that it's cracked up to be. His freedom is probably actually less than yours. When you think about it, he doesn't get a lot of time to himself to do certain things, even though he has all this money. It's kind of having money for the sake of having money, not being able to use it. So you have that opportunity. I have that opportunity. Maybe we've always been beggars in our lives and we just keep coming back, and the universe is not going to give us that opportunity to have that wealthy and fortuitous life, because it wants us to realize moksha. It wants us to be liberated in this life. So you need to eliminate this idea of I am creating good karma for the future. This is a silly idea. And I always talk to my friends about this, and a lot of them that talk about this are usually Buddhists. And we have to get rid of this idea that, I'm building a life for a future life and so forth and so on. You need to make the choice now that I'm going to end this cycle of samsara. And that begins with sincere self-work. It means that, okay, I've got to stop being lazy. I've got to stop just doing good deeds for other people. And though that is good and you can continue to do that, you need to start to work on yourself. You need to dig down into the samskaras, those mental impressions and subliminal imprints within the subconscious. And you need to dig down into that, and you need to work through that, because that's affecting your vasanas, your latent tendencies and habitual ways, which actually affects your karma, affects your action. And so you need to dig deep down into them, and you need to begin to burn those vasanas out, which begins to have an effect on your samskaras, which will transform you at the base root level of your being. And that will transform also your character and your personality on the jiva level here. So then it's a lot easier then to come back into contact with the Buddha mind, or the Atman, or call it what you will. It becomes a lot easier. But you have to make that choice. You have to make that choice to do sincere self-work instead of focusing on everything and everyone else, just so selfishly you can get a good life in the future. Make the choice now. Make liberation your number one priority. And then this will be your last life. And samsara will be something that you see in the rear view mirror. Shanti, shanti, shanti.